Should the Dallas Cowboys trade Dak Prescott for draft capital to go get Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields? Let's talk about it after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, I want to talk about Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Dak Prescott, and my Dallas Cowboys because, well, many of you know the Dallas Cowboys are the most watched team in the entire country. That is across every major sport. Every single game the Dallas Cowboys play is on national television. They have the largest following in the entire country, and Jerry Jones's franchise is one of the most bankable in the history of the world, ahead of places like Real Madrid, Barcelona. So we're always going to be talking about the Dallas Cowboys because, as the slogan goes, they are America's team, even if they are America's sorry team right now. Tremendously talented, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, that's your group of wide receivers, right? Zeke Elliott in the backfield. On the back end, you're supposed to be talented, yet we just sorry. Earl Thomas is out there dangling the wind. Jerry Jones and them don't want to go get him. Still hanging on to Mike Nolan as defensive coordinator as he needs to be fired. Like, I'm not all right with this as a fan. Like, I'm just not there with that. You trade Everson Griffin, and now we are trying to salvage what's left of the season, and the Cowboys can still make the damn playoffs because the NFC East division is trash. But it is so trash that in the second week of November, we're already talking about trading, well, the franchise quarterback, quite literally, got the franchise tag, paying him more than $30 million for 1 year because A, he broke his leg, B, he ain't everybody's favorite, and C, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields represent for you two things. One, youth, right? Talent. Probably more talented football player than Dak Prescott, but might not be as good a football player as Dak Prescott because there's always a crapshoot when you're drafting new players. And B, you're talking about marketability, right? Trevor Lawrence is going to make a lot of money no matter where he goes. But if he went to Dallas, my God, the kind of marketing campaigns that would be thrown at this child would be ridiculous. But we get here because Dak Prescott has been on the menu all year. Mel Kiper Jr. goes on Get Up to say, Dak Prescott's a heck of a quarterback. You're not talking about a young quarterback who is unproven, who is still going through those rough starts and inconsistencies. Dak is a heck of a quarterback, and you can get you can get an awful lot. You can get a tremendous amount in return for a pick that represents Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. That's got to be under consideration. Now, this was put before Jerry Jones on Tuesday when he went on 105.3 The Fan for his weekly conversation there. And he said, you're asking me if it's crazy to bring up the idea, and I'm answering it, yes, we're playing games here, guys, but it's not the thing to be talking about here at all. You know, Dak is our quarterback. Stephen Jones, Cowboys vice president, his son, has also said, Dak's our quarterback. We're so fired up about him and him leading us into the future. And he should be, but Stephen Jones walked this out further. This is a 4-month injury, barring setbacks, and so far, if anything, everything that we're getting from our Associate Director of Rehabilitation, Britt Brown, and the doctors is that he's ahead of schedule. So yes, he's been able to avoid any setbacks, and if anything, he's ahead of schedule, which shouldn't be surprising the way he goes about any challenge. Now, coming back from any sort of season-ending injury is a crapshoot. Some guys are actual aliens, like Adrian Peterson. Some guys are never the same, like Booby Miles, right? Both of those people are real, just in case you did not watch Friday Night Lights or read Bud Bissinger's great book about that 1988 Odessa Permian Panthers team. But also, Dak Prescott was in the middle of, or I should say in a quarter into, the most prolific season of his entire career in a year where he was really having to prove it because the Cowboys trying to get him to sign a long-term deal that he didn't want to sign. They take it all the way to the day where they got to put the franchise tag on him or not. They put the franchise tag on him, And then if they want to sign him to the franchise tag next year, it's going to be close to $40 million for 1 year of football. But when you look at what he was doing, I mean, outside of that 20-17 loss to the Rams, LA Rams, to start the season where he threw for 266 yards, he threw for at least 450 yards in each of the 3 next games before the injury against my goodness, look, 450 in a 40-39 win against Atlanta, game they probably should have lost but didn't because Atlanta's Atlanta. 472 against the Seattle Seahawks where they put up 31, and 502 against the Cleveland Browns in a 49-38 loss. Anytime you score 38, 31, 30, or 40 in the National Football League, you should be able to win. You score 34 against the Giants, you should be able to win, right? They scored 37, the Giants scored 34. I'm saying that if you want to trade Dak Prescott, you're probably going to have to trade a bit more than Dak Prescott. Probably going to have to do that plus some picks. But if that gets you into the number 1 or number 2 spot, where you go get a Justin Fields or a Trevor Lawrence, you're also playing with the identity of your football team. But that also looks like a thing that they're willing to play with. So what we're actually talking about is, does Mike McCarthy want a new quarterback? Does Kellen Moore want a new quarterback? Because I think Jerry Jones is going to take into consideration what his new head coach wants, because one thing we know about Jerry is he's going to let a dude continue to suck as a head coach until it is 2 years past untenable. See Jason Garrett, right? Man loved him some Bill Parcells. That Dave Campo thing wasn't really working out too well for us. I'm just throwing that out there. But if you're looking at this and saying, man, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence feel like they're better quarterbacks than Dak Prescott, sure. On the teams they play with right now, where you have monsters at wide receiver and on the offensive line and at tailback, okay? Travis Etienne hadn't been good the last 2 games, averaged 7.5 yards per carry for his career, okay? Amari Rodgers might be a first-round draft pick at wide receiver. Cornell Powell looking like a second to third-round draft pick at wide receiver. Joseph Ngata, also the same. Justin Ross, the last couple of years, has had Trevor Lawrence's back as his best receiver, and that's before we start talking about T. Higgins, who was a second-round pick to the Cincinnati Bengals, right? On the other team, Justin Fields is throwing too. Chris Olave, probably a first-round pick at wide receiver. Garrett Wilson, probably a first-round pick at wide receiver. Jackson Smith-Njigba, a true freshman phenom. Julian Fleming, true freshman phenom. He's got Master Teague and Trey Sermon in the backfield before you start to talk about Steel Chambers and Marcus Crowley. He's got 3 dudes on that offensive line that I know are going to get drafted. One of them, Wyatt Davis, probably gets drafted in the first round. If you're going to go with a full rebuild, by all means, draft this quarterback. But if you are trying to win again next year, Dak Prescott is the guy that you want. If you're looking to break everything down and start again, that's what you're doing. And there's an argument for that because the Dallas Cowboys were supposed to win the Super Bowl this year. They are sorry, all right? They're bad. They're not going to win the Super Bowl this year. They might make the playoffs, but that's a huge might in a trash division, perhaps the worst division in the history of the National Football League. And yet here we are talking about perhaps Dak Prescott gets traded so that you can make room for Sunshine or J-Rock, Justin Fields. Now, if you're asking me, yo, man, I'm going to be happy either way, okay? I'm winning. I love Dak Prescott. I like Justin Fields just as much. You give Justin Fields on a rookie deal, and you can keep a bunch of the pieces that you have. Perhaps you make a run at the Super Bowl in the following year, right? In year 2, year 3, and you get a Patrick Mahomes type of situation before you got to pay him $500 million because he's, quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. To say nothing of what it means to be perhaps one of the better quarterbacks in the National Football League, if that's what Justin Fields becomes. The same is true for Trevor Lawrence. I'm winning either way. I like all 3 of these dudes. I like all 3 of them as quarterbacks. I like Justin Fields just a little bit more because that's where my predilection lies, right? So we'll see what happens here. But I doubt that Jerry Jones is going to get up off of Dak Prescott because Jerry Jones has put his name on Dak Prescott. He has decided, like he decided with Tony Romo, that Dak Prescott is his dude. And usually when you make that sort of decision and you got lots of money, you are loath to say I was wrong and start to do something else. That's it for me. Doses.